silencing food noise and regular eating, and how regular eating will reduce hunger, maintain your cravings at bay, and really dropping that food noise that a lot of us struggle with. Because this is not about necessarily perfection on eating at specific times, or like you have to be super rigid about the schedule you have to be eating in order for you to be successful, or drop the noise, or feel like that is going to completely solve any of the issues or the things that you struggle with in the first place. But this is about trying to not even create a nutrition rule. I want you guys to see eating regularly as a regulation tool that allows you to create a rhythm and a habitual signals for your body that tells your brain there is nutrition coming on a consistent basis, and we are good to expect it to happen on a regular basis on these times. So things get in more balance, get a lot more aligned, and your physiology starts creating this rhythm of, yes, this is the way I work. When the body is unstable, it does not care about your goals. It doesn't care about your motivation or how disciplined you want to be. It just pushes towards urgency, towards reactivity, to impulsiveness, to cravings, and it doesn't care about anything else. And a lot of us, when we don't have a regular nutrition coming in, that's when we see our body just behaving the way it wants to behave, because your brain is just trying to create mechanisms for protection and for survival. And the way it does that is by increasing hunger, increasing cravings, reducing satiety, and making you feel like there is need for those amazing tasting high calorie foods, because that's what brings not just the hunger down, but it also takes the cravings to another level and sort of like tries to bring that down as well. And then, so this is not necessarily a mindset issue either. As I mentioned, is a biology survival thing that our brain, our body does to make sure things are back to stable place. So what irregular eating actually looks like, and I think this is something that will resonate with a lot of you, is that it often looks like you are delaying food because you are very busy, because you are trying to be disciplined and try to save calories for later. So you're white knuckling these hunger pans because you sometimes may not feel like you deserve to eat. You're eating lightly all day and heavily at night because you want to make sure there's plenty of calories at night. And I guess you tell your body in the morning that you're not hungry. And the more you repeat this cycle, the easier it is for your body to somehow get used to that negation that you're telling yourself. And that breaks a potential normality for your physiology to work. And so it just tries to adapt based on what you tell yourself that you should be doing. Also is that idea that you have to save calories just in case. And this happens way often in the weekends or when we are trying to still be social during a deficit or when we are calorie aware. And so this is something that tends to happen quite a lot if we don't know how to manage. We're just used to hearing from the social media, from these guru experts, actually just save all the calories for tonight or for the event and just calorie bank for the main event. But I don't think that is accurate or even helpful at all, because that tells in many, many occasions to actually get a lot more cravings, not even enjoy the moment. Because when you go to these events and you're hungry, you're not even paying attention to be social. You are just ravenously thinking about how can I just fucking eat. And so that is something that we need to really work on when, especially if you have been dealing with this kind of situations or you don't know how to navigate those. And this is one of the modules we're going to work on this 16-week challenge. This is one of the modules that are around, I think, week 8 or week 9. We still have to sort of build the foundation with other things that we will be working on every week. But there is also this part of waiting until you're starving to eat. So just because you're not hungry, it doesn't mean like your body doesn't necessarily need nutrients. And if you have been under eating chronically for a long time, or again, just telling yourself you don't have or you don't deserve to eat enough calories because you're trying to lose weight, or because any excuse or anything that you're rationalizing in your brain, you will probably just ignore your hunger or try to move past a moment of discomfort. And most of the times, breakfast is the one that gets pushed away because you either have to run to work, you either have to do things in the morning, look after your kids, make breakfast for your husband, just run to meetings, get to the gym, and then get to work. Like, there is so many things going on in the morning that sometimes just the basics need of eating something or nourishing your body first thing in the morning becomes something that you probably feel like is an option and not a need. Now, if you started shaping your hunger and teaching your body, training your body that it is okay to have something that breaks the fast, and breakfast doesn't necessarily mean that you have to sit down, have a big meal. It doesn't necessarily have to happen for everyone exactly the same. But it's about making sure you are front loading first thing in the morning with adequate amount of protein, with a decent amount of food or volume that allows your brain to signal your body that there is nutrition coming in, that is not just whatever. We're talking about nourishing foods. When you eat vegetables, fruits, protein, things that are full in vitamins and minerals, first thing in the morning, all of those things are absorbed into your bloodstream and goes to your brain and to the tissues that are peripheral around your body, needing for this to work optimally. If that is the first thing your body perceives, hey, why don't we work more efficiently? Why don't we work best if we have the tools we need every day? So it's not about just doing it once, it's about doing it consistently. So your brain perceive that this is an habitual thing that is going to happen on a regular basis. So from your body point of view, irregular eating sends one clear message: food is unpredictable. So when food feels unpredictable, the body responds exactly as it's designed to react. Your food focus increases, your cravings intensify, fullness signals pretty much are non-existent, and your urgency to eat takes over. You just want to eat. You just think about food all the time. And that's what food noise comes a lot to this topic. You're always thinking about food because maybe something is not right. But if we make things right and get our body to get these signals on a regular basis, things become a lot more normal and the food noise reduces a lot. And this is where also mindless eating shows up as well. When we're not paying attention, when we become less intentional, you just get fooled by your own instincts. And the things that your brain is trying to do while you are distracted. And this is very common to see. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you are lacking willpower or that there's something wrong with you. Is that there is a system that is not being implemented right for your physiology. And as we age, we tend to try to shape our habits and behaviors based on what our lifestyle, our social life, our demands, our regular commitments make us to think that is the right thing to do. And also all the fucking information and confusion with all that information that is in the social media right now, that comes on one end, on one other end, and one thing says to do one thing, or skip breakfast. Breakfast is the worst thing you can ever do. And then other streams say breakfast is good. Same with specific food groups. Same with typical things that that are in your diet. Then it gets demonized because it is bad for you. It causes cancer. Is this or that? And so there is a lot of information confusion in the media, in our environment. And so sometimes we just don't even know what is best for us, whether we should be doing fasting every day or every once a week, because that just purifies our body. And on the other hand, you should just not eat protein or eat too much protein, because one end says that it just gets you with kidney stones and kidney issues. And on the other side says like you need a lot of protein in your body, because if you're deficient in protein, then you are going to completely lose your muscles. And so there is extreme for everything in nutrition and in the fitness industry right now. And it obviously makes things confusing, extremely confusing. And I hear all of you that come to me initially when we do our one-on-one with these common confusion questions. And that leads to a lot of the problems we're trying to work on this nutrition coaching program. And I think it is important to also understand that when your body feels safe, when we fix our behaviors, the rhythm of our nutrition, we start eating more regular, we start providing your body with the right nutrients. Behavior changes without force. Hunger becomes clearer. Choices feel less urgent, less impulsive, and eating becomes more intentional instead of reactive. And that's where I'm saying that eating consistently is more than just something that I just want you to do for the sake of doing it. It's because it has a rationale behind it, and it's going to drive regulation, control, intention, and better choices on a regular basis, in addition to make you feel a lot more energized, help you recover better, have a better control of your appetite, less cravings overall. But this needs to happen on a daily basis. Again, this is something that only happens when your brain perceives there is something consistent and is a signal that receives on a regular basis. And again, regular eating is not like you have to eat until you're uncomfortable full, until you have to eat by the clock, as I mentioned in the group chat to you guys. It is not about eating like a robot. You don't have to fucking eat specifically at specific times. Just think ranges. Think about structure and having something that creates a regular pattern that your body perceives as normal. It doesn't mean like it is something that you have to do on the clock. That is not what is meant to be the meaning of regular eating. I put myself as an example. I could say that I tend to eat consistently on a regular basis, and I choose the pattern that works best for my schedule. But the point is, whichever schedule you choose to eat and a regularity you choose to eat, it has to be consistent. So in my case, let's say when I was in the deeps of my prep and low calories, the best timing that worked for me, but I was able to stick to it, was I would have a big breakfast, a very tiny snack during the day, and a big dinner. That worked really well for me. And not just because of the practicality, because I would be out and I would want to just focus on the things that I needed to do. I would front load my nutrition very early in the morning with a lot of volume, protein, vegetables, vitamins, minerals, everything that I needed in the morning. I would focus on really good hydration and probably something high in protein, medium in carbohydrates around my training. And then when I would come home, then I would have a massive dinner, very similar to my breakfast. And obviously that would work in this scenario because I was calorie poor. I was in a very important deficit and I needed to try to find a way to make it work for me. Now, not everyone have this poor deficit, and a lot of us can have a lot more flexibility, but it also matters the timing and what works for your schedule. Something else that may be significantly important is that we know that weekdays are not necessarily the same as weekends. So you could probably and be completely strategic about how you organize your meals during the week. And even though weekends are not a separate entity, but may have a different rhythm of life because it's just different compared to weekdays, as work, socials, life in general, you could have a different schedule on Saturdays and Sundays, holidays, public holidays. But again, it's a matter of knowing what consistency is for weekdays and that pattern repeats on again and again. Weekends is a slightly different. Maybe instead of having 2 meals a day and one snack, you have 3 or 4 meals a day and no snack at all. But whatever you choose to do, you can just do on repeat. And this is not just for the sake of repeating things for the sake of repeating it. It's because you're not just giving your brain signal that there is planning and there is regularity, but it also allows you to pre-plan and have predictability. Know whatever happens during the week or during the weekend, you are prepared. You have your plan A, plan B. Everything is in a more controlled settings because you have regularity. You know what to do. You know how your eating should look like. And if you know that there's going to be something on whatever it is, you are more prepared. You have better predictability. And you also teach your body to be that way. So what is the middle ground? The goal is not I only eat when I'm starving, and it's not I eat constantly all the time, regardless whether I'm hungry or not, because we also want to teach our body to be hungry when it's time to eat, but also stop eating when we're full. So we want to start connecting our body to our hunger signals. But the hunger signals cannot work well if we have no pattern, if we haven't taught our body and our brain to have regular signals. So we can then learn to how to listen properly to our body hunger cues and hunger signals, as well as satiety cues and satiety signals. If there is no way that that's been taught initially, there is no structure to begin with. So we don't really know how accurate our hunger signals will be, same as our satiety signals. So we have to create that foundation, the structure, teach our body what is right, what is best, what hunger looks like, what satiety feels like. And once we know what feels like, then we can just go and move into the next phase, which is trusting our body when it talks to us, because now it is more accurate that whichever signal it sends, it is going to be a lot more reliable to begin with. So that is one of the things that I really want you guys to take from this session today, is that you cannot rely on or believe or trust your hunger cues, your satiety signals, if you haven't had time to teach your body what is the right structure to begin with. So I know that this may feel completely crazy and very difficult if you've never taught your body what the right thing to do is. And it is completely understandable that it's just going to feel hard. Regular eating often feels wrong at the very beginning. You're eating when you're not hungry. You're eating breakfast when you never eat breakfast. You might feel like you may be eating too much, or you fear that you may be losing control when you give yourself permission to eat, because you've never given yourself permission to eat as many times as you thought you would. Or you may be worried that because you're eating a lot more or a lot more often, then you will gain weight. Or you might feel like you don't deserve to begin with to eat a lot more, or that you should be compensating by trying to exercise more or out exercise whatever you're eating to begin with. But I will tell you one thing, that discomfort is not a red flag. It is just a formal reaction of your body for something that is completely strange when you start doing something that feels different, that feels uncomfortable. But you're teaching your body the right thing to do. Because when eating becomes more regular, as I mentioned initially, your cravings are going to start calming down. You may feel like portion sizes actually start becoming a lot more stable, a lot more natural for you. You may feel like when you started giving yourself permission to eat more frequent, you feel like you're going to lose control, that you will feel certain binges, urges to binge. But that noise gets quieter as you make it something that it just happens more normal. Same as the food noise. That goes down, that quiets as well. And decision fatigue drops a lot more because you're now being consistent with something that you are just expected to do on repeat. So I want you to do a very simple reframe today. Instead of asking yourself today, am I hungry enough to eat? Try asking yourself, have I gone so long that my next choice will be reactive? And that question alone can change everything, because now you're being more thoughtful and thinking a lot more about what is going to happen if I am not rational enough and I am so hungry to a point where I am no longer in control and I am more just in a survival, reactive, impulsive mode, just because I lost it, because I'm hungry. I'm so hungry that I no longer have the capacity to rationalize my choices. And I want you to go back to our first week 1, about awareness. And this connects super well with that, because when we think about awareness and developing that skill of self-awareness, now awareness happens before action. So because you're not forcing the regular eating anymore, you're noticing a lot more things. You're observing a lot more with curiosity, long gaps, patterns of restriction, when hunger turns urgent, where food starts to feel unsafe. Awareness first, then adjustment second. So what we did our first week was to understand what our patterns, what do I feel, what I observe, how I do respond to certain situations. Everything is in observation. This week, we're just adding an extra layer of awareness and curiosity, and specifically shifting our attention to eating patterns, the regularity of our eating, and how that just connects directly to the way we feel, the way we behave, and the way we think and associate food with our responsiveness, with our alertness, with our recovery, with the control we feel around food, or the fear or lack of control we feel around food when things are not right. So it is all about understanding the awareness and the things that are going on right now. So as you move through this week, and we're kind of like getting close to the end of this second week of experimenting, rationalizing, observing, understanding, and reflecting, this is something that isn't going to get perfect in this week. If you've noticed that there's something and there is room for improvements around that area, this is something that you just need to take with awareness, with intention, and put into practice, and continue to learn about yourself. Continue to learn about what makes you feel good, what doesn't feel right. And whether this week you notice that there is a pattern or there is a structure that you don't like, or maybe you feel good with that structure, maybe then it's time to just refine what are you putting in those timings and what is worth to change or adjust, so things help you to have a much better day overall in terms of energy, performance, recovery, alertness, focus, control, intentionality. Everything will have a better connection once we are more aware and more intentional and identify what works and what doesn't work. So every time you choose predictability over punishment, you teach your body it doesn't need to shout anymore. And that's where the change starts. And that's basically what I wanted to talk to you today. A very brief educational session, but I also think it is a very powerful, the way it has to be understood. We think and we want predictability, we want regulation, and know that that makes the big difference at the end of the day. Now, because I know that some of you guys are doing some work or in meetings or things like that, but you came to listen and to watch, I'm excited for you guys to send or write some of your reflections or your takeaways from this session into the chat, into the group, either the Facebook or the WhatsApp group, and let me know if you do have any additional questions. Comment any wins, anything that you feel like is worth celebrating together. I will hope that this was helpful for all of you. If you do have any questions about anything, just make sure you write them in the comments today. Put them in the chat box if you feel like this was helpful. If it was beneficial, put some hearts or maybe some cute little icons of this I don't know, fire on the chat box, and I would love to make sure you are. Yes, awesome, Lauren. I love that. Same for you, Serena. Thank you so much for coming, and thank you, Emma, for being here as well. Denise, I welcome to you as well, and everyone else that wasn't able to join. Again, feel free to comment once you watch the replay. What are your takeaways from this session? And what are some of the things that you will start adjusting or changing now that you understand better the importance of this very specific topic on regular eating. I want to thank you, Emma. I want you guys to use this information, take it, internalize it, listen to this again and again if you need to, put in your soul and your dedication to interact in the group chat. I think it is amazing to put your reflections in there, because that allows you to have not just the accountability, but also the consistency in putting into practice everything that we are learning every week.